Today is Wednesday, August the 10th, and we started the McClellan oscillator. Really, we haven't been doing very much for the last 5 to 7 sessions. Oops, sorry, I think I need to refresh that. That looks like an awful lot like yesterday's. Aha! Yes, we did see quite a drop yesterday, down to the 0 line. And today, for an unchanged, we need 255, but we are going to see tomorrow that the oscillator has moved back up over the 0 line because it's not the same number of issues, the same number of 3,000 issues that McClellan uses, but we can see that the advancers led the decliners by 72% to 23%, which is the opposite of yesterday. So the S&P, we're looking at the weekly. That's the one that bears the most importance for us right now. And we'll remember that Monday, the Chiku span closed at the top wick of this candle 26 weeks back, finished yesterday down exactly at the top of the candle, and today is somewhere in between. So on the weekly basis, we've got sort of like this, not a doji and not an iron cross, but somewhere in between. But the day itself ended up almost 11 points, 10 points, with a range of 11 points. So if we look at it on a 15-minute basis, we can see that we had the initial drop, and then we moved up, a little bit of a pullback, and finished the day off quite strong. Not a pattern that's not unfamiliar. We've seen that pattern quite a bit lately. Apple was really interesting. Apple started off shooting up in its first 15 minutes, the next 15 minutes just taking all of that away, then dropping below its 15-minute open. I tweeted that it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon and it still had not broken through the high of the first 15 minutes. It pulled back, and then it too finished strong, and in the last 15 minutes saw quite a rally to the top of this candle. Now, overnight, we saw, or in the morning, we woke up to an analyst from HSBC who had given Apple a sell rating. So I've always told people, and I did it on Twitter again this morning before the market opened, don't take what an analyst says at face value. Do a little bit of research and find out what this analyst is all about. So this Erwan Ramborg from HSBC has a 4-star rating on tipranks.com. He's right 77% of the time compared to the sector that he monitors, but he's only got a 3% return over his sector. Over the S&P 500, he outperforms 1.2%. But if you look and see, say that, I should say no time period. Well, let's stick with 1 year. But this is what he's done for Apple since May of 18. He actually made his first analysis back in September of 18. And he said to buy it, what turned out to be its high. Wasn't a very good decision. Down here, he said to hold on to it. Also not a good decision, not if you're an analyst. It dropped further, and he was patient. He said to hold on to it here. He saw it reversing. He said to hold on to it here. And now that it's up here, he's telling people to sell it. I'm sorry, but I just can't buy that. That wasn't a pun. So if you invested like Erwan did, you'd be losing 18% on Apple. So I think the market realized that quick enough, and they ignored his sell analysis. I'm gonna have to practice talking with rocks in my mouth. So let's just keep moving. Well, no, let's go back to Apple, because we talked about this gap back in November that got closed yesterday. And I said when it happened, there would be a pullback, and there was. We've pulled back now to the bottom of the gap and moved and finished the day halfway up the gap. So tomorrow, good possibility that we break through the gap if it's a good day in the market. Just bring up our Chiku span and our cloud here. Chiku span, cloud, 1 week, cloud. The Chiku span has a lot more room to go on a weekly basis before it hits resistance. So I still think that the trend for Apple is up. And if we look at the daily moving average, I know this is a 1 week chart, but on Motive Wave, we can set the moving averages and lock them into a certain time period, and I've locked them here into 1 day moving average. And the 50 moving average is about to make a bullish cross over the 200-day moving average, and that's a good sign. So I think Apple is a healthy hold right now. Gold, on a weekly basis, our Chiku span is inside the cloud. On a daily basis, the gold miners had a down day and the market had an up day. No surprise there. Caterpillar, up $1.18, still intact to hit our Gartley target of 149.52. Intel Corporation, I bailed on Intel, remember, at 50, where are we now? At 55, I bailed at 55.14. Earnings are coming up. And the earnings date for Intel, I don't have it because I don't own it anymore. But here's a couple of other earnings to be aware of. WDC have the earnings on the 29th of April. But I'm still holding WDC. As we get closer to the 29th, I'm going to cover my stock with some short calls because I don't expect that they're going to have earnings that are going to pop in one direction very high if they have good earnings. If they don't have good earnings, they could drop substantially. But as we get closer to the 29th, we'll take a look at what the market is thinking the range is going to be for earnings on the 29th. Caterpillar's earnings are on the 18th, which is next week. AT&T have earnings on the 9th, which was yesterday. I didn't know that. What did AT&T do? AT&T yesterday dropped. So I guess I should have been paying attention, but I'm just holding on to AT&T because it has a very nice 5-point-something%. Right now, if you were to buy AT&T, you'd be sitting on a dividend of 6.4%. You can't get that kind of money in the bank, so I'm holding on to it for the dividend. Yes, of course, I'm losing money from the point that I bought it. But it's a dividend-paying stock for me now. And we can see that yesterday the loss in AT&T came down where the Chiku span hit the 200-day moving average. And now today it bounced back a little bit.